Yeah.
Welcome back to the Great Debate Show with your hosts, Jarvis Jeffries, Terrence Smith, Nick Ely. The Great Debate Show is available wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the follow button, rate, review, follow or subscribe, whichever one it says. And don't forget to download each episode of the Great Debate Show. We're available again wherever you get your podcasts. It's the good guys. Back up in this bitch for another one. And week 5 is in the books. It's already a wrap. The Kansas City Chiefs just ended week 5 with a win over the New Orleans Saints, 26-13. The Chiefs are one of 2 undefeated teams remaining in the NFL. And if I asked you guys back in September, late August, if there were 2 undefeated teams remaining after week 5, who would the second team be? Because you both would have said the Chiefs. You wouldn't have guessed the Minnesota Vikings, would you? They're still undefeated at 5-0, along with the Chiefs. That's it. Chiefs, Vikings, Super Bowl 4, all over again. These are the only 2 undefeated teams, though. Alabama just beat Georgia last week, and then they come back and lose to Vanderbilt the next.
Nuts.
What's going on in college football with all the upsets and everything, man? I mean, it's getting pretty wild and crazy over there, too, with some of these teams that are losing that you didn't expect to lose. I think USC has lost again. Tennessee almost lost. Ole Miss lost last week to Kentucky. I mean, it's just college football has been getting kind of wild, too, and we've got to get back to touching on that. But first, let's talk about Tay Adams before we get to Monday Night Football, before we get to Sunday's games. We want to talk about Davante Adams because a lot of breaking news or a developing story took place late last week, where Davante Adams said, I want to trade. We knew this was kind of coming. If you watch Receivers on Netflix, ladies and gentlemen, you would think that last game that he played last season was his last game as a Raider. If you saw all the hugs and the kisses, the dap, it was like, is he leaving? Is he a free agent? Or what's going on here? It's almost like he anticipated or they knew you won't be with the Raiders much longer. So here we go. 2024 season has begun. He played the first 3 weeks. By week 4, I want to trade. He didn't play week 5. He's got a hamstring issue all of a sudden, and he didn't play. Guys, Davante Adams is still a good receiver. I don't know if everybody still believes that or not because he's been a Raider for the past couple of seasons. We know why he's a Raider. We know why he left Green Bay. We know all of this. I'll say what I think about that a little bit in a minute, but first I want to start with Terrence because, well, Davante Adams is in the AFC now. He's trying to probably stay in the AFC, I would suggest. But he also could go to the NFC and play with his boy Derek Carr as in New Orleans. He wants to go to Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, but there's other teams looking, like Dallas, Washington, Buffalo. These are teams that are looking for Davante Adams. Terrence, where should Davante Adams end up? And then you can tell me where you want him to go or where where you think he'll go.
Well, we know where I want him to go. I don't even have to get into that. Uh, where should he go? I mean, listen, if I'm a receiver, why would I not want to play with Mahomes? If they have the capital, if they have the pieces to trade for him, now, of course, as you said pre-show, there's not a chance in hell that the Raiders trade him to the Chiefs. But if you're asking me where should he go, that's where he should go. Now, where are we doing where we think he'll go to as well?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay. So I don't know if you guys saw, but last week, Von Miller was suspended for violating the
Yep.
conduct policy.
Did.
That gives Buffalo the chance to cut him and recoup that money. They can then reuse that money to pay one Devontae Adams. So my bold prediction is he's going to end up in Buffalo after they cut Von Miller. Now, where do I want him to go? I would love to see him in Baltimore. There's no question about it.
Of
Hey,
course.
one thing the Baltimore Ravens have never had is an all-pro receiver in their prime. Never had one. Would be nice. Would never had a receiver that's been considered top 5 in the league in their prime playing in black and purple. Would love to have it.
You wouldn't say Anquan Bolden was in his prime when he was still a Raven?
Even if
He
he was
was
in his
he
prime,
wasn't top
nobody
five.
thought he was top 5.
He wasn't
Yeah,
top
he wasn't
five.
top five.
Okay.
Yeah. And I like Anquan Bolden. That was no disrespect at all. I've always
Love
liked
love
Anquan Bolden as a receiver, but
love him to death. Love him to death. I met his brother a few times, man. They're
Right.
good people. Anquan gives a lot back to the community. Good brother. He was never a top five receiver in the league though.
right. Yeah, these are essentially Devontae Adams, Randy Moss years with the Raiders. You know, it's that little period of time where it's like, okay, you know, is this kind of the beginning of the end? But the fact of the matter is he's in a terrible situation. He doesn't have anybody worth mentioning throwing the ball, whether it's Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell or I think it was Jimmy Garoppolo for a little while, and you know whoever else they've kind of run through there. You know, none of that's been good enough, especially when you got a talent like that on the outside. So no, to answer your question, I think Devontae Adams is absolutely still top 5. I think he's still got a strong argument to say he's top 2. That's just me personally. I was about to say top 2 and not 2, but Justin Jefferson is something serious, boy. So I'm gonna slow my roll a little bit just on that part. But he certainly still has. If he wants to come out and say he's still top 2, I wouldn't argue with him. That being said, I do agree with Terrence that the most desired location for any receiver, especially somebody who is still a number 1, would definitely be the Chiefs right now. Because A, theirs is obviously missing for the season. And then B, just that's something that they've been looking to add, you know, kind of for a little while. So if you're a guy like Devontae, they can get on the outside, they can run every route, and they can really open things up even more so over the middle for guys like Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy, who is slowly becoming an even bigger weapon in that offense as well. Then that would obviously be the most optimal place for him to land. That being said, since there's no way in hell I would think that the Raiders would do that unless the Chiefs just blew away the competition when it comes to the offer that they made for him. Then the places that I think are more likely that he ends up would be somewhere like Washington or Buffalo. I think it's less likely he ends up in Baltimore or Dallas for a couple of reasons. One, because those teams have shown no proclivity to go trade for a draft or acquire a receiver of that level for any reason, or really for the Cowboys, a player of that level, other than obviously CD and Micah, who they drafted. They just, when it comes to free agents and trades, they're not teams that tend to go make those kind of moves. So I would lean towards probably Washington, Buffalo, or obviously the two that he put on his wish list, which would be New Orleans and the Jets. Neither of those, I think both of those situations are worse situations than if he were to go to the Commanders or the Ravens. Commanders, Ravens, or the Bills. But I think those are also still highly possible that he ends up either New York or New Orleans.
Okay. So I'm going to say this about Devontae Adams. I love Devontae Adams. I do. Love me some Tay Adams. He's a bad boy. And,
I'm going to stop you right here. If you finna get on here and tell me he's not still that.
I'm not.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just making sure.
No, I am not. No, I'm just going to say that as much as I like Tay Adams, I just can't believe that he loves his boy Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers that damn much that he would like to leave a bad situation in Las Vegas with the Raiders, because I don't know if being in Vegas 24/7 is a bad situation to be in, but just to be with the Raiders, he's trying to leave one bad situation to go to another team that situation ain't that much better. I mean, if you look at the numbers for Aaron Rodgers this year with the Jets versus the New York Jets last year with Zach Wilson, they look totally identical. Like, seriously. Matter of fact, I may need to pull this up. I'm sorry. I may be out of the video for a second, but it's that bad. I have to say it out loud and say it.
You said what again?
There are some numbers that look very identical. Hold on one second. 2023, the New York Jets started 2-3, and they scored 93 points in that, I guess, I guess that was in 2023 around this time period. Yeah. After the first 5 games of the season, they scored 93 points at 2-3 last season, after week 5. 2024, the New York Jets starts 2-3. They've scored 93 points with Aaron Rodgers also. So Zach Wilson, and we're just talking about points scored in a record, but still, that is a stat that Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure, would not want to look at right now. He would not want anybody to put that in front of his face. If they did, he would probably slap it out of their hand real quick. Get that out of my face. I don't want to see that ish. 93 points scored after 5 games with Aaron Rodgers at 2-3. That's exactly identical to what the Jets were doing last season after 5 games. 2-3 record, 93 points scored. So I guess I'm trying to say, what is Aaron Rodgers and the Jets doing so special? I never was that high on the Jets. I never drank the Kool-Aid. And it's starting to look like Jets fans need to stop drinking it too. They're not. Now, I'm not telling you adding Tay Adams doesn't, elevate the Jets and their offense and what they're doing, but that doesn't change the fact that Nathaniel Hackett is still calling the plays. That doesn't change the fact that Aaron Rodgers is still the OC. Aaron Rodgers should have listened to Matt LaFleur and kept his ass in Green Bay. Let's be real. Davante Adams shouldn't have left because he thought he was losing his boy Aaron Rodgers. If he had just been patient, he would see that Jordan Love's not that bad either. So I don't give a damn where Tay Adams goes, to be honest, which I hope he does goes to the Jets and gets a mediocre season and miss the playoffs. Or I hope he goes with his boy Derek Carr with the Saints and miss the playoffs still, just on a different time zone. So, if this is what he wants, give him what he wants. That's all I'm saying. If he wants mediocre or nothing, give him nothing. But where he should be going, in my opinion, I think it should be the Baltimore Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are playing good, amazing football right now that we knew they could together. And if you added a piece like Tay Adams, you can't stack the box for Derrick Henry. I don't care if they're in spread, pistol, shotgun, I formation. Somebody's got to pick a poison here. That would be very, very dangerous. And if that happens, then my gematria theory about the Ravens winning this Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, it could very well come true if this happens. That's where he probably should go. I would like to see him in Baltimore also. And I don't know if he's going to the Jets or not, so I'm not even going to say where I think he lands. According to my theory, I think he's going to be a Raven. But I want to say this for Nick, and this is just to kind of pick at Nick a little bit.
Of course.
It's interesting what you said about him going to Washington earlier. I don't know if he really want that or not, but I really don't think he want those problems.
Oh, for me, I don't want it, but I can't act like it wouldn't be a great move for him and a great move for the Commanders. Okay. I'm not gonna lie and say that's not the case. Because as we'll talk about in a little while, Jayden Daniels has convinced me he's good.
Right. Yes,
he is good.
So, but one more time, round call. But one more time though, Terrence, you think Davante Adams is going to be a
Buffalo Bill?
Buffalo Bill. And Nick, you think Tay Adams is going to be a?
I think he will be a New Orleans Saint.
I think he's going to be a Raven.
I would probably put the Bills second.
Nobody thinks they're going to do it. Nobody thinks they're going to pull the trigger. They never do, right? Neither does Dallas. But nobody thinks that Dallas is a Super Bowl team, even with Tay Adams. I don't think. Possibly, but I don't think. If you add him to Baltimore. And I'm not saying the Chiefs because the Raiders are just not going to do that. Yes, that would be. Stop watching football if Tay Adams goes to the Chiefs. Don't even watch.
Yeah, I quit at that point, straight up.
Yeah, stop watching. After whatever week that happens, you can retire the NFL season from there. But I just don't see that happening. The Raiders wouldn't dare do that with it. I mean, you got to give me a lot in order for me to send you to Kansas City. Can I get like Steve Spagnuolo, your best linebacker, Chris Jones, that fast guy? I mean, I need some stuff before I just. And I know he's 32, I believe, but.
Yeah, the rumor is that the asking price is something like a second round pick and some stuff, which would be comparable to the Stephon Diggs trade from last year. So do with that what you will. But that's the rumor that the asking price is starting at a second round pick. So, you know, you can go through the teams that may have that available, one that they would want to part with, and then you got to think about too, from the Raiders standpoint, if you're saying a second round pick, then you got to think about who that second round pick is coming from, because the second round pick for the Chiefs is not going to hold the same amount of weight as a second round pick from, say, the
The
Bills
Jets.
or the Commanders or the Saints. You know, these are all teams that you would think will finish with worse records than the Chiefs will. And so therefore that's a higher draft pick that you acquire for your team. So, you know, just keep that in mind.
Well, for me, it's like if I'm one of those teams that can actually be a Super Bowl contender, adding Tay Adams, that second round pick don't mean a damn thing to me. I'm not gonna get a Tay Adams with that second round pick. I ain't even that. You don't have to show me the prospects.
I'm not gonna say
No
you're not
shot.
going to. I think Tay Adams was drafted in the second or third round.
I mean, right now, I'm not gonna get a Tay Adams right now. I don't think with that second round pick immediately. I don't think so. Tay Adams wasn't Tay Adams when Green Bay picked him at that second or third round pick. You know, not just like that. Eventually,
Fair.
he was. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm taking my chance. I'm rolling the dice on Tay Adams. Y'all can have it. As we were saying a few years ago when the Rams was trading for everybody and got a Super Bowl, when the Niners traded for Christian McCaffrey, hey man, F them picks. that's what it is. You know, F them picks. So anyway, here's a team that doesn't matter. Let's talk about a team real quick, and it can be very brief because there's nothing that we can say that we haven't already said. This team doesn't need picks. They don't need players. They don't need any damn thing but two people, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City Chiefs are 5-0. They keep losing players. They're dropping like flies, and they just keep dropping dubs on everybody's head like it's nothing at all. I've been asking this question for a while now about the Kansas City Chiefs. If we know they're this good, if they continue to show us they're this good, and they continue to win championships after championships, why in the hell are we still watching? The Chiefs are 5-0, and it doesn't look like they're slowing down, no matter how many players that they've lost.
Let me ask you a question. Let me answer your question with a question. Because
Okay.
you are a decent bit older than me, so you will have more of a memory of this time. When the Bulls was winning championships in the 90s, when did you stop watching?
I never did.
Exactly.
I was a Bulls fan.
Well, that's fair.
I thought I was a Bulls fan.
You was a Michael Jordan fan, like we all were.
Yes.
And that's what's happening right now. As I said before, and I'm going to say it again, we are watching the Michael Jordan of football right now. That's what's happening. So we're not going to quit watching. Okay. We're going to watch him continue to be great. And then when it's over with in another 10, 12, 15 years, whenever he decides to hang it up, we'll put his name in the rafters and change the logo.
But Nick, here's where I don't like your analogy. Only Bulls fans or Michael Jordan fans love the Bulls dynasty. There were a whole bunch of people in the world that couldn't wait for the Bulls to lose.
That didn't stop them from watching. They might have wanted them to lose, but it didn't stop them from watching.
Okay, I'll give you that. No, I don't think it did. No, it didn't. So you're saying Patrick Mahomes and Michael Jordan are pretty much like publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. They're still watching.
No, I mean, of course, it's not bad publicity when you got a guy that's the face of the league, that is the pinnacle of success over and over again. I mean, you know, it's every year you're looking for the team that could potentially knock him off, and so that's going to continue to draw people in. So no, I mean, and of course, the NFL is the NFL, so that it's not like it was going anywhere anyways. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes simply just adds to that. He gets to be the new Michael Jordan. I mean, they try, you know, Tom Brady was that, and it's going to be very short lived. Tom Brady becomes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar essentially.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're making a good point, Nick, and I'm gonna leave it alone. But one last thing I'll say about the topic.
Actually, that is a crazy parallel I just made.
But look, though, Nick, yeah.
If you think about it, because think about it, when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar retired, Mike was just starting to win his titles. He was just on the way up. And by the time Mike retired the first time, we went, oh, yeah, okay, he's the best all time. Then he came back, won the last 3 titles, and we were like, yeah, okay, it's whatever. He's just adding on to it at this point. That's essentially what's about to happen here. Pat's got 3 already. 4 is coming soon, whether it's this year, next year, 2 years from now, whatever. He'll get, he'll probably get in the conversation. He'll get close to 7. Maybe he gets 7. Maybe he doesn't. But the numbers will be there. The performance we're watching this with our eyes. He's a much better athlete than Tom Brady ever fooled anybody into thinking he was. He's got a stronger arm. He's a better quarterback, bar none. Bottom line, Brady obviously from a mental standpoint, and the 23 years he played was able to gather things that Pat has yet to gather. But the things that Pat can do, there are things that Pat can do that Brady just simply couldn't. And so we just appreciate what we're watching because he's going to be the best all time when it's done, and it's not going to be that close in my opinion.
I just wonder if everybody. I don't think everybody knew the Bulls were going to win those championships every year. 96, 97, and 98 were so close. You just thought Utah was going to finally get them. The Phoenix Suns were the best team in the league that year in '93. You didn't know Jordan was going to beat the Bulls. Beat the Suns. Phoenix was good.
Yeah.
Portland was good. I'm just saying, like,
I understand.
We kind of know.
We didn't know the Chiefs was going to beat the Eagles. The Eagles were good. We didn't know the Chiefs was going to beat the 49ers. They were good.
Yes, we did.
But
we knew they were going to win.
I picked them, but
they shouldn't have won either. I'm not going to lie. Especially the Eagles. You really had them on the ropes, Nick. Your team really had them. We thought we did too. They shouldn't have won either, but they did. And I think we all knew they would still win those games.
And the Jazz thought they had the Bulls on the ropes, and so did the Sonics, and so did the Suns, and so did the Trailblazers, and so did the Lakers. They all thought they had them, and then they didn't. That's what happens when you're dealing with the best.
I just wondered if everybody knew it or not. That's all. It just seems like the Chiefs is like, well, we know what's going to happen. That's why I just asked the question, why are we watching the Bulls? I didn't know. As a fan, I'm not going to lie. I was like, damn, Richie Miller getting on my nerves, man. I wish we had beat these boys in 5 or 6. Why I got to go 7? And it went 7 in 98. I was shaking in my boots. I'm just saying, dynasty or not, I didn't know they were going to win.
Yeah, to answer your question a little bit more, I think a lot of the reason why that people keep watching is because literally all it takes is one game. The regular season. Listen, these guys are about to coast to another AFC West title. Looks like they're about to coast to a 1 seed in the AFC. They might lose a couple games in the regular season. I don't see them losing more than 3, barring any kind of catastrophe. But as far as the playoffs, man, all it takes is one game.
What catastrophe? They don't have catastrophe.
The only catastrophe they could literally have is Patrick Mahomes getting injured for the season. That's their catastrophe.
I don't want to jinx it.
As long as that guy's upright, they're good. They could try me out at wide receiver and they'll figure it out.
But don't act like we haven't seen Andy Reid win a whole second half without Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game.
Yeah.
With, like, Chase Daniels or whatever his name is.
Yeah. No, Chase Daniels.
It wasn't Chase Daniels. So, it was Chad Henne.
Mahomes and Andy Reid would have to be out for the game. But I'm sorry, Terry. So we cut you off. I'm sorry, T.
Oh no, that's fine. That was all I had to say. That was the quick answer for me. It's just one game.
Okay. And of course, I know you hope that your Ravens are that one game that will cut them off short. Meet them at the roadblock. We'll see how it goes.
The Buffalo also one other game. The Buffalo Bills had them absolutely on the ropes, and they went and scored in 13 seconds. So what happens?
But to me, I just feel like we knew the Chiefs were still going to win. We didn't know in 13 seconds, but before the game was kicked off, we knew like the Chiefs are going to win.
Mm-hmm.
The other Bills are good, but the Chiefs are going to win. That's all I'm saying. That's just how I look at it. When they lose, it's like, oh wow, they lost. Somebody beat them. But for the most part, when they win, it's like we didn't expect them to not win, though, did we? That's all I'm saying. The Bulls played 7 players for most of the damn season. They didn't have a bench. They played 7, 8 players deep. And it was a struggle every night, damn near. They played good defense, and, they just hung in there. And if Jordan was having one of those bad shooting nights, hey, let's just get it to the fourth quarter. We know what GOAT going to do when it's time to do it. And that's just that. A lot of times, that's what 97 and 98 really consisted of. 96, 97, and 98, really. But anyway, let's move on. before we get to the Ravens, because we got to talk about the Ravens, they could be the team that can be the team that's that one game where the Chiefs finally fall. It needs to be in January, though. Before we get to the Ravens, let's quickly talk about the Cowboys and Steelers. I think it was like 1 a.m. before this game ended due to a nearly 90-minute rain delay, lightning, and things like that. A lot of bad weather. Inclement weather was going on in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I don't know what everybody thought. We didn't get to come in on Thursday night and do an episode for the weekend to give our predictions for Week 5. So there's no even need to say who we thought would have won. It's easy to say now it's over. But the Cowboys won. I don't know how surprised some people are, but they did. And how they won, well, that could be shocking to a lot of people. I'm going to start with Nick first because, well, I know they beat the Steelers in the AFC North T, but the Cowboys got the win, and they're in Nick's division in the NFC East.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nick, I want to ask you, and we'll get to Justin Fields in a minute here.
Okay.
Did the Cowboys make a statement with this road win in Pittsburgh last night?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. Pittsburgh has been surprisingly good in terms of the games they've won so far this year. And certainly they started to open some eyes a little bit to think, okay, maybe they're a little better than we thought, and maybe they are still a little better than we thought. But making a statement beating them, no, I don't think so. They're not a great offensive team. They're a great defensive team. I'll give them that for sure. But offensively, not so much. They're still really trying to find a rhythm there. Justin Fields still trying to clean some things up and things of that nature. I know it gets at him in a little bit, but really I guess I get time to it now. The bigger thing I think I take away from the Steelers and the guy that I'm gonna put more of their issues on, and this may surprise y'all a little bit, is George Pickens. George Pickens has become a problem for that team. There are multiple plays where you see where his effort is lackluster. He does not make plays. He doesn't seem to be where he's supposed to be. He doesn't make the blocks he's supposed to make. He doesn't make the catches he's supposed to make. He's running his routes at half speed. He's not getting open. He's I don't know if it's a diva thing. I don't know if he just wants more touches. I'm not sure what's going on. But you just seen kind of his body language and his attitude and his actions. Because that's another team that, in my opinion, Davante Adams could really help out. And really help to bring some more of a dynamic element to their offense by having that true threat on the outside, along with Najee Harris in the backfield, Pat Freiermuth at tight end, and then of course everything that Justin Fields can do back there. And so no, to sum it all up, no, the Cowboys didn't make a statement. They got out of there barely, with the fourth down, 20 seconds to go pass to Jalen Tolbert. Good for them, I guess, but no, they didn't make a statement. They beat a team that they should have beat. We'll see what happens with them next week. I don't know who they play next week, but we'll see.
Okay.
My turn.
Terrence, the Steelers pretty good. How do you think about the Cowboys winning against them on the road?
They play Detroit next week, by the way. That's the answer.
I've never seen a player that tried his absolute best to give the game away. Yesterday was one of those games to where if Dak just manages the game, the Cowboys win easily, no question about it, because Pittsburgh is not a good team. What Pittsburgh has done is they beat you with their defense. They can't beat you with the offense. They beat you with the defense. But what I saw yesterday was Dak literally tried to give the game away. He had 2 interceptions yesterday that just made no sense at all. No, I mean, just made absolutely no sense. Now, the fumble, just give credit to Pittsburgh on that. TJ Watt is going to make a play in the game. You can just pencil it in. He's going to cause a fumble or a sack on 3rd down or something. Take you out of field goal range. Like, it's TJ freaking Watt. In my opinion, the absolute best pass rusher in the league as far as his pure pass rushing. That doesn't mean he's the best defensive player, but he's the best. He is the best with his hands on the ground pass rusher in the league, and I don't think there's much of a question about it. So he's going to make a play. But Dak Prescott literally tried to throw that game away. Now, kudos to the brother. He did win it in the end, but he shouldn't have had to. We didn't need the theatrics. We just need you to not lose a game. And here's my pet peeve, y'all. If I have a CD Lamb, why am I throwing to a Tolbert in double coverage? See, some of these things don't make sense to me. As the kids say, 2 plus 2 ain't equaling 4. If I'm going to take a chance in double coverage, I'm going to throw it to my guy in CD. If I want to take a chance in one-on-one coverage, I'm going to take a chance with my guy in CD. But what I'm not going to do is throw it to a Tolbert who is double covered when I've got CD over here. So some things it's always something going on in Dallas with the quarterback and receiver. Romo was doing it a lot, man. He was force feeding the ball to Jason Witten when he had the second or third greatest receiver in the world in the history of the world on his team. And it's just some of the same stuff going on now, man. I don't know. I don't get it. It's weird. Did they make a statement? Yeah, they made a statement that they're not going to be good because of the same reasons that they've always not been good. Dak will hold them back some more. That's the statement.
Mm. Okay. Okay. That's crazy. Dak wins the game, fourth quarter, in the clutch, fourth and goal, and he still can't get no love on the Great Debate
He
Show.
shouldn't have been in that situation. I agree.
He shouldn't have been in that situation. I'm not saying he shouldn't have, but wow. I mean, so nobody has anything good to say that Dak won the game? I mean, Terrence, you did say he won the
He
game.
won the game.
Nonetheless, it shouldn't have came down to it the way it came down to the wire, yeah. So why, Terrence? I'm gonna ask you this and flip it real quick, and we can wrap this game up. Cowboys did win. Doesn't sound like neither one of you were impressed by it, and I understand. But if Dak did everything he could, Terrence, to give that game away, and he still won it, what the hell does that say about the Pittsburgh Steelers offense and Justin Fields? Is it time for the Steelers to make a change on offense, whether it be going to Russell Wilson, firing offensive coordinator, although they just hired Arthur Smith, Mike Tomlin? I don't know. It's always a problem with his offense. Never the defense, but the offense. People are getting tired of that in Pittsburgh. Terrence, what should they do here? What is it time to do offensively? If they could
You
be a
know what the
team like
problem
Dallas who
is?
was trying to give them the game.
Yeah, yeah.
What's
You
that?
know what the problem is? They've got Arthur Smith sitting over there. Pardon me, y'all. This is my don't worry about what's on here. Just imagine this is a clipboard with plays on it. Okay, I'm, I'll cash this in later. Uh, they've got Arthur Smith over here pretending like he knows what the hell he's doing, and he doesn't. That's the problem. It doesn't matter who they have at quarterback. The problem is they've got a coordinator over there whose whole lifeline of success came from turning around and giving the ball to Derrick Henry. He called plays for the Titans to give the ball to Derrick Henry. The three of us can do that right doggone now, and that's the problem. That is his call to fame is that he called for the plays for Tannehill to give the ball to Derrick Henry. Good for you, sir, but you don't know what the hell you're doing on the sideline. That's the problem. I don't care who they have at quarterback. Maybe that's why Pickens is running his routes at half speed because he knows if the ball does get there, he's got to make a hell of a play to get to it. There's nothing in that playbook that says I'm going to get Pickens open. There's nothing in that playbook that says I'm going to get Frymouth open. That playbook stinks, and you can tell by the way that the offensive players play. Poor Justin Fields had to run sideways and throw the ball. He had to run right to throw the ball left just to get rid of it on a play yesterday. It's terrible, and I don't care who they have at quarterback. It's not going to get better. That's what's wrong with Pittsburgh. They have skill players. They just don't have any coaching on offense.
Ouch. Nick.
I mean, no, say I disagree with him, with Terrence on that in terms of what Arthur Smith is bringing to the table. I think that there he definitely shares some culpability in that, but like I said, I think by the same token, when I talk about George Pickens the way I am, what I'm saying is that based on what we were expecting from him, from what I thought he had a legit chance to be a bona fide wide receiver one, and he doesn't look like that right now, and he hasn't looked like that really at all since he's been there in Pittsburgh. He had a couple of flashes and a couple of here and there's, but nothing that's just been consistent. And so that's kind of why I'm pointing the finger that direction. because I think there are some opportunities there where he can make some plays, and he's not making them. And so that's why I made the comment a few minutes ago that that's another team that I think Davante Adams could be very helpful for, because as I've said before, as I said about the Ravens, and it probably applies to a couple other teams, the Commanders and the Bills and others, the Saints as well, that those the guys that they have playing as number one receivers are not number one receivers. Their 1, 2, and 3s should really be the 2, 3, and 4, or the 3, 4, and 5. And so when you bring in a Davante Adams, everybody has to slide down because he's going to be the number one. And so, and the problem with that, like I said, for the Steelers, just kind of wrapping it all up, is that's supposed to be George Pickens, and I think he has the requisite talent for it to be him, but I don't think he's locked in and has the correct attitude to be that right now.
Okay, so George Pickens got a good chewing from Nick Ely here on the show, and probably rightfully so. I forgot to mention the Steelers as a team that's on the list. Not Davante's list, I don't believe, but a team that is in the market and have the cap space to make that trade for Davante Adams. I just don't know if Davante believes in their quarterback, in their quarterback room right now. Terrence doesn't seem to think that that's the issue. It's the coaching. And Nick doesn't seem to think that it's really the quarterback either. It's the coaching. But Justin Fields still hasn't done enough to last week I thought he did against the Colts. Even though they lost, I thought the comeback after the fumble, he was amazing after the fumble. The problem is he still had the fumble. This week against the Cowboys, not anything impressive to talk about. He never did enough to take this game over and say, get out of here, Cowboys, we got this. Everybody thought it was going to be a mauling because of the Steelers' defense and because, the people thought that Justin Fields and the running game and Pickens, they're starting to progress here. They can do enough against a Cowboy defense that seems a bit weak, especially against the run. Well, I'm going to do something neither one of you really did. I'm going to be the guy to give the Cowboys a little credit here. The defense played good. They did what most people thought they couldn't do, There was no big runs. There was no big – they didn't go rushing for 200, 300 yards, 250 yards on the ground. The Steelers did not run over the Cowboys like people suspected, which would have led to all other things that could have turned into a disaster. Cowboys was in this game. It was like 6-3 at halftime. Give the Cowboys credit for that. You wouldn't think the Cowboys could withstand a game like that. It came down to the wire. Cowboys don't win games that come down to the wire. Not hardly, It's either, they lose games like that or they're going to get stomped. It was neither. They won. And say what you will, but Dak did it in clutch fashion. Now, the only reason why I'm not impressed and I'm going to brag about it is because it's October the 7th. It's not January the 7th. Had he done it in January, that would be much different. But still, I'm not going to shit on the guy for, doing what they pay him to do, and that's win the game. He's supposed to do it, but let's be real. These are games that Dak normally goes in on the road and wins. They did it, though. Got to give them credit, especially after a 90-minute delay. I don't know if that helped or hurt the Steelers, but yeah, the Cowboys, they did all right. I got to give them their credit for that, Shout out to the Cowboys. They did a good job this week. What I wish they would stop doing, though, is let people like Micah Parsons just talk on these podcasts and have podcast interviews with NFC East rivalries and stuff like that, like Darius Slay on the show. Like, let's stop doing things like that. When can a head coach talk about that? Can an owner step in, general manager, and say, hey, man, nah, fans don't like that. We don't like that. And then when you get out and play bad games, it's almost like, well, you should have been watching film or practicing harder instead of podcasting, dude. That's the one thing I hate about where this culture is going now in the game. But that's neither here nor there. So we're gonna stay in the AFC North. The Steelers lost, but the Ravens didn't. After their 0-2 start, here they are now with 3 straight wins. They were in a shootout against the Bengals Sunday. And they won 41-38. Terrence, tell us why the Ravens were able to win that game. Were you impressed with them winning that game? And what does this say about the Bengals now at 1-4 on the year?
The Ravens have to be one of the most unique teams in history. And that's not me just bragging on my team, but they have to be physical enough to play with a Pittsburgh and Cleveland, but they also have to have a high-powered offense enough when they need it to go out and play with a Cincinnati and to still be the class of that division. There's not a lot of teams in the history of the league that can do that. Now, as far as that game, I won't lie to you. When I saw them going down 10 in the fourth quarter is not my Ravens' fourth quarter. It's not what they do. They're not great at it. Uh, but what I'm hoping was Sunday was the turning tide uh, of their fourth quarter struggles. And listen, Cincinnati was the team that struggled in the fourth. They were up by 10. They missed what it could have been a game-winning field goal. We go into overtime, and Derrick Henry and Justin Tucker finished their job off. I think it actually said more about the Ravens than it did the Bengals because the Ravens were the team that were notable had the notable fourth quarter struggles. The Bengals have their own different. They have their own struggles. I think that part of the struggles are that those guys for so long, in my opinion, had three what could have been number one receivers. They still have two. They're still good, but I think that was the advantage a lot of times is that all right, well you find coverage for Higgins, you find coverage for Chase. We still had Tyler Boyd, but now it's just Higgins and his Chase, which is still a luxury, but I don't think that they are head and shoulders better than anybody because they don't have that extra luxury on offense. So now they pretty much have to outscore everybody, and you can't do that every week. Uh, but hey, listen, that's the AFC North battle, not the typical one. It's not I bust your eye, you bust my nose. But it's still an AFC North battle, man, and I'm just glad the Ravens could come out on top.
Yeah, the last point you made is one I definitely agree with. It was not typical. You know, usually we expect more of the slobber knocker, as Jerry the King would say there, and that's I'm not gonna say
Jim
it's far
Ross.
from what we got. Certainly there was still some hits. Jr. Yeah, I'm sorry, I said Jerry. I meant to say Jr. Um, certainly not the low scoring kind of affair in that regard or the highly defensive affair in that regard that we're more used to. But certainly, obviously, those division games in general, and then certainly in the AFC North, are played at a higher intensity and a higher level of physicality than just about any football you're going to see. Um, all that being said, I do agree. I think that said a lot more about the game said a lot more about the Ravens than the Bengals. The Bengals guys, I don't know if y'all know this. Over they're 1-4 on the season. They have a -5 point differential for the season. So just think about that for a second. They lost the game, of course, yesterday to the Ravens by 3. Prior to that, give me just a minute. Let me get to them because I did want to see this. There we go. All right. Prior to that, they've got a win over the Panthers by 10. They lost to the Commanders by 5, the Chiefs by 1, and the Patriots by 6. So they've been in every game they've played this year, for sure, and they obviously have only just won the one against the Panthers, which for me I thought would be their time to kind of start turning things around. Which is why going into this game I was actually leaning a little more Bengals. I ended up picking the Ravens. I know we're kind of late for that now, but I did end up picking the Ravens. I got another little pick and pool that I do. But I definitely saw the chance for the Bengals to win this game just because I thought it was kind of a time where they would kind of start turning things around as well. I still think they have that. I think they just ran into a better team, or a more complete and a more evolved team at this point, in the Ravens than they are. But I think the turnaround that I believe we'll see from Cincinnati over the next 10 weeks or so will probably be one of the highlight stories of the season. They're 1-14 right now. I could see them finishing as a 10-7,
I can see
and
that.
maybe they're in position for a wild card spot at that. I think the Ravens, are in position to kind of start getting away with the division as of now, because as we've all said, I think agree, the Steelers are going to kind of start coming back down to earth. And so I think the Ravens are going to kind of start running away with it. The Browns obviously aren't any good. And so the Bengals may find their way into a wild card spot. And I think at that point, they're obviously still a very dangerous team.
Okay. Well, I'm not surprised at all by the Ravens win. I'm surprised how they won in the way it was done. Yeah, surprising score, all of that. I'm sure nobody picked over whatever I don't know what the points were, but I don't think anybody went over. It went over. I'm pretty sure it went way over.
Yeah, it definitely is over.
Yeah, this was like nearly 80 points combined scored here, though. So I'm not surprised. Again, I told Terrence a few weeks ago, a month ago now, I believe, when they went 0-2, I said this is just the beginning of a story that is far from finished. And now, after an 0-2 start, they're 3-0, and this will probably just keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. I'm not worried about the Ravens, and I've got my theories, my reasons why I'm not. Good game. And could you imagine how good Lamar Jackson would look if Tay Adams was added to that team? And just stick Derrick Henry in our formation and leave it that way. He looks a lot better that way. You see how he just said, let me put it into this game, our formation. All right. So we talked about the Ravens. We talked about the Cowboys and Steelers in that game, and the Cowboys getting the big win. The Chiefs still undefeated. The Vikings are another team that's undefeated, and they had a good game in London against the Jets. And my question to you guys would be, even though the Jets lost, I think they're now 2-3. Yes, they are. I've said 2-3 quite a few times here on this show. Did the Vikings win that game? They're 5-0. We've heard about their offense. We've talked about Sam Darnold. I think some of us are doing it reluctantly. Some of us still have our doubts. Some of us are still in the corner just waiting like, I know this ain't really happening. He's gonna fuck up. I'll just wait. Watch this. But to me, guys, was this more about the Vikings winning this game and how good they are, or is this more about the Jets are just not as good as we thought they were, or are they just running up against some good teams and the Jets may just still need more time to get it together? I'm not sure, but I've asked you guys, are they overrated, overhyped? You all said it's too early to talk about that, and it probably still is. So I won't even ask you that. But like, did the Vikings win that game, or did the Jets lose that game?
Terrence, you want to start AFC?
Sure. It's fine. I'll go.
Please.
I think to answer your question, the answer is both. I think that what we think about Minnesota, when we first think about Minnesota, is Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold, and kudos to Sam Darnold for reviving his career. I hope he's able to play for a very, very long time. But what I saw yesterday was a defense that is not only dominant, but they're athletic and they are crafty. And I haven't seen a defense play like that in a very long time. It actually reminded me a lot of some of those old Rex Ryan defenses that would disguise coverages, but they had playmakers all over the field, smart playmakers, athletic, crafty, the whole defensive squad, and that defense dominated the game. It's just that simple. That's why the Rodgers New York Jets offense looks so bad. It's because Minnesota made them look bad, and they're already not a great offense by even by the numbers that Jarvis pulled up earlier. But when a bad offense meets a really good defense, you get what you got in London. So to answer your question, I think it's both. I think that the Vikings could have been better on offense. Sam Darnold in particular could have been better. Uh, but the Vikings defense right now, in my opinion, is probably the story of this NFL season because Sam Darnold is not. We haven't seen him be undefeated at any other point in his career. But that defense, hey man, just don't lose the game. We got you, and that's what's going on in Minnesota.
If there is, and I don't know if it actually exists, but if there is an award for Coordinator of the Year, Brian Flores is lapping the field for it.
Easily.
It's over, in my opinion. I mean, the way the defense is playing, is not of this world. I saw the clip a couple of weeks ago when Emmanuel Acho had has a show with James Jones and LaShawn McCoy and those guys, and he had the still shot of, okay, hey, based on this lineup, what does this defense look like? And James Jones, like, he played 8 years in the league, 10 years in the league, he was like, looks like man coverage. And they snapped the ball, and it became cover 2 in a way that I thought it was going to be cover 3, but the way they turned it into cover 2, I was like, this dude is crazy. And so you heard the clip of C.J. Stroud telling Brian Flores this game was crazy, and I mean, the more you watch it, for those of us that are real football nerds, I guess, in that regard, it's something to see. So if there's an award for that, they go ahead and start carving his name in it, because it's a wrap for that. That being said, to answer the question, the Vikings won the game. The Jets this year, they're 2-3. The only 2 games that they've won have been against the Patriots and the Titans, who neither of those teams we think a lot of. The games they've lost,
a game that they shouldn't have won.
Huh?
I'm sorry. The Titan game they shouldn't have won. I just wanted to add that.
Okay. The games they have lost have been to San Francisco, Denver, and now Minnesota, of course. Now 2 of those teams that they lost to going into this season certainly would not have had the highest of hopes for. Obviously, we've seen Minnesota to this point, so we do think highly of them. Denver, not so much. But they won yesterday as well, and so their team you may start to look at and go, okay, they may have something there. So I don't think, so I say all that to say, I don't think it's over for the Jets, and so that's why I didn't lean towards saying that they lost it. I think the Vikings, won it in a different way than they've won a couple of the games so far this year, in terms of not being able to put the points up to match what their defense is doing. But the defense, showed up and was what it was once again. Got 3 picks out of Aaron Rodgers, which I think I saw he's only done like 6 times in his career and hasn't done so in 6 or 7 years or something like that. So yes, I give all credit to the Vikings and most of it to their defense for that win. And so yeah, they went out and won it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. The Vikings definitely went out and won it. This is more about the Vikings to me than the Jets, because I didn't expect as much from the Jets as a lot of other fans out here did. I just didn't, and I still don't. Even if they went and got Davante Adams, which most people think they will, I'm still not that impressed, because you ain't got Hassan Reddick, and you could use him with the pass rush. Yeah, they played some defense, and they had Sam Darnold kind of looking like Sam Darnold. But look, man, behind Brian Flores, who is definitely should be a head coaching candidate, whatever else you want to give him a crown for this year as far as his coaching goes, right behind him is Kevin O'Connell, head coach. What he's doing for the Vikings and the plays that he's calling with confidence. He's not really trying to get Sam Darnold to manage the game. And I'm not saying that that's what you were referring to, Terrence, when you said that. But he doesn't have to do much. Just don't mess up and they can win these games because of the defense. But it's not like Kevin O'Connell is, like handicapping him, holding him handicap or whatever. He's, what I'm saying? He's having to hold his hand and put the training wheels on his offense. He lets it rip. He makes some throws and some plays where you would say, wow, he trusts his Sam to do that. And he does. But I mean, I know if you got Justin Jefferson, you would be a little bit more confident. But still, he ain't calling those same plays when Nick Mullins comes in, who had to come in for, I think, a play or two when Darnold took a huge shot. But he got right back and got back into the game. And I know that was scary for Vikings if they were about to lose another quarterback. But yeah, Kevin O'Connell, give him his credit too. What he's doing with Sam Darnold, that's coach of the year, comeback coach of the year, whatever they're going to call it. He gets something like that just for that alone. But yeah, Brian Flores, we've heard it all season long so far. Quarterbacks are going straight to him saying, damn, I can't figure this out. Can't figure your defense out. We've heard C.J. Stroud say it. We've heard Brock Purdy say it. That's just what it is. So the Vikings are good. The Jets, yeah, you can say that they've lost to some tough teams, but I mean, they're supposed to be a tough team too. At some point, they've got to start beating tough teams. Mm-hmm. I ain't impressed. And again, I gave you some numbers: 2-3. And what was the other number? The record was 2-3.
93 points.
That happened last year with Zach Wilson. That's the exact same stat this year with Aaron Rodgers. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. There's not a lot more to talk about other than my 49ers loss last week. A lot of people might have thought that the Niners are bouncing back, after that 2 straight losses. They beat the Patriots, kind of got the swag back, and they stayed home. No excuses, no crazy traveling or anything. They're still at home against the Cardinals. And, well, I had said, well, we didn't record, but I was telling somebody that, hey, man, the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, they got stomped. Matter of fact, I did say it after we talked about Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. They stumped the Cardinals last week, and I said the Cardinals are definitely going to be due for a win after a butt kicking like that. And it just so happened that my team was next up on the list, on the schedule, and they beat them. They didn't do it pretty. They shouldn't have even won it, didn't look like it, but they hung in there, they kept fighting, and they beat the 49ers the same way the Rams did. They hung in there, and they got the win. So, as I've been saying in pre-production or during the weekend, we're watching games and we're chatting or whatever every now and then about certain things that may happen on a Sunday. When the Niners lose, I would tell you guys in a text, one win, one loss down, such and such many more to go till Kyle Shanahan's resignation termination, because he's not going to resign. And I know he's not going to get terminated. But I'll say it again now, 3 losses down. And I think I predicted them to maybe lose like 10. So I would say there's 3 losses down, 7 more to go. Some people are saying, Jarvis, you're crazy. The Niners aren't going to go 7-10. All right, we'll see. Let's just keep watching. This train continues to fall off the tracks. So I'm going to ask Nick first, since he's an NFC guy. And we can wrap it up here. Not a lot of people care about the Niners and Cardinals game. But if there's anything that jumps out to you, it's the fact that the Niners lost to the Cardinals. And the 49ers are now 2-3. Brock Purdy is playing pretty good. Lights out. This is a contract year. Well, it's not a contract year, but he can get paid after this year. Negotiations will start. Everybody's pointing fingers on who's to blame for the Niners losing. What do you think is the reason why the Niners just can't seem to get it together here at 2-3 now and losing to the Rams, losing to the Cardinals? And the Vikings is the only loss right now that looks legitimate because they're undefeated. But give me your thoughts on it. And then, Terrence, you can come right in and tell me what you think about the Niners and their loss. Or are the Cardinals just that good? We know they're no slouch.
I'm not going up and say that the Cardinals are just that good per se. I think it kind of goes 2 ways. I think that there is the side of it where, as I predicted before the season, that there is finally some hangover and some fatigue for the 49ers. They did have a lot of their guys on Sunday. Brandon Ayuk actually had a pretty good game, 8 catches, 147 yards, didn't score. George Kittle had another 8 catches. And then everybody else that caught a pass only caught 1. So those 2 definitely kind of, handle things there as far as the receiving. Jordan Mason also had another good game in obvious relief of Christian McCaffrey, who starting to sound like you guys may get back here sometime soon. But like I think it's more of a product of the 49ers fatigue, of their hangover. And the Cardinals, are finding some rhythm, finding a little bit of motion there. Still got some work to do, particularly when it comes to getting Marvin Harrison Jr. more involved in the offense and getting him some more catches and some more targets. I'm still not a huge believer in Kyler Murray, to be perfectly honest. So we'll see. I couldn't pull a lot from this game, just kind of based on that, because I don't think a whole lot of the Cardinals. And I didn't think although the 49ers are certainly more talented, I didn't think a lot of them going into the season either, just based on those injury and kind of hangover predictions. I know who you're going to blame, which is Kyle Shanahan. You may not be wrong for that. I didn't really watch this game that much, but I couldn't pull a whole lot from this one.
Jarvis, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 49ers had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, right?
They did.
That's usually every week almost 10 points at least, fourth quarter lead. Yep.
Then you got to blame the coach. I mean, that's just that. Hey, listen, I blame John Harbaugh a lot for my Ravens fourth quarter struggles. One time it's okay. Two times it's when you get up to 4 and 5 times, it's a trend at this point. And we've seen Shanahan too many times, particularly in very big games, particularly in the biggest of games, have leads, 10-point leads, pretty much a lot of the times, and his teams always end up on the losing side of it. Uh, so yeah, it's a problem that I don't want to say it becomes your DNA or anything like that, but you get a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against an inferior team at that point in Arizona. You have to win that game. Now, I did say in the preseason that I thought that Arizona, I didn't think they'd be a good team this year, but I thought they would show flashes of being able to be good at some point. Maybe this is just one of those flashes and it just came at a bad time. But at the same time, if you're the 49ers, if you're Shanahan, you got to win that game when you're up 10 in the fourth quarter.
Also, you got to put up some points in the second half, which the 49ers did not do. Their last points came at the end of the first half with the 26-yard field goal to give them their 23, and they didn't score in the second half.
Yeah, right.
And they were lucky to get so they were shut out in the second half, and they were lucky to get the last 3 points they got because that was the punter who kicked that field goal for those 3 points because their kicker Moody got hurt somewhere in the second quarter before halftime. So some of the play calling was normally it would be suspect for Kyle Shanahan, but it made sense Sunday because they didn't know if they could kick a field goal. But again, guys, it's the same thing over and over again. Niners lose, let's find somebody to blame. But we're not going to blame the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, though. No way it's his fault, right? Let's just keep on finding another person to blame or throw somebody else under the bus. Let somebody else be scapegoat for the Niners blowing fourth quarter leads. And they're usually 10 points damn near every time. And they blow it every time. The Niners don't win close games anymore. They don't win close games. They either going to run over you and kick your ass physically, or they're going to lose. There's really no shades of gray in between that anymore. Just like the lack thereof with their, depth or whatever on the chart, on the roster, they're top heavy. And doesn't it seem like they're top heavy now when certain players are out? They just don't look good. And some of these players that are playing, they can't be 100% because they don't look like it. The defense looks trash outside of Fred Warner. They cannot stop the run inside. They didn't do it when Hargrave was there either before he got hurt. But he's out for the season with the torn tricep. They're dropping bodies like flies. People are in and out of the lineup. Hufanga just got back. He's hurt again. You still think he should get paid as strong safety? I don't know. He's not Troy Polamalu. Whatever you thought of Troy Polamalu, it's not Hufanga. That's for certain. He whiffs on too many plays that he shouldn't. I don't recall Polamalu ever missing one-on-one tackles, open field tackles. Not too quick. Not really. Did he have some holes in the secondary with his pass coverage? Yeah. He wasn't Ed Reed when it came to coverages. But we know the boy was bad. All over the field doing stuff. Hufanga ain't him. And he can't seem to stay on the field. Super Bowl hangover. It's what I've been saying all along is going to happen. I know where the end of the road lies for Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. I'm just sitting on the passenger side or in the back seat just saying, are we there yet? Just like the kids on the Ice Cube movie. I'm just waiting to see are we there yet. At some point, we will get to the end of the road where Kyle Shanahan's services are no longer needed as head coach of the 49ers. I don't understand why, it's not being talked about. He's not on the hot seat. I don't understand why people like Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence are not on the hot seat. Yeah, they finally got a win. But there's other people that should be getting talked about while we're so focused on what Lamar Jackson needs to do more of. And, the Dallas Cowboys, are their Super Bowl window still open when it never has really been. Things like that. We waste our time talking about nonsense like that, and I don't mean us, I mean the media, instead of talking about what really matters. And what matters is the Niners are never going to win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. I'll be surprised if they do. Because as Terrence was just alluding to earlier, Kyle Shanahan losing fourth quarter leads and losing close games, it just seems to be his DNA. It just does. If you continue to do it over and over and over again, How am I non-faithful or I'm not a real fan to say something otherwise? Why would I expect anything different from what he's been doing? He always blows it. You can't beat the Rams. You can't beat the Cardinals. You've got the Seahawks coming in on Thursday night, and they just lost to the Giants on Sunday, so they're pretty desperate after losing 2 straight to the Lions and now the Giants. They need to get back to their winning ways. They're 3-2 coming into this game Thursday night. Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video, 49ers, Seahawks. I don't know where it's at. Doesn't even matter. It's probably in Seattle, though. The Niners have been at home, seems like it, for a month. And it doesn't matter because they're not winning any of these games. But that's it. Pretty much 49ers, Super Bowl hangover. Really looks like that now. And to the people on Twitter that laughed at me for saying it was going to be a 2020 season all over again, I'll slowly ask you this every other week. How am I looking right about now? It's not about the team or faithful or my hood, my loyalty for the fan base. It's about what I see and being right or wrong. And some people out there are just mad because I've seen this months ahead, and it's gonna take you dummies 6-7 months down the road before you finally see, damn, Jarvis was right. But you just don't want to admit it because you think they're just gonna just beat everybody, just knock them down like a bowling ball down the alley, knock all the pins down. Fast forward, we're back in the Super Bowl. All right, Kansas City, get your ass over here and cross that line this time. We're going to do it this time, damn it. No, there's so many hurdles and obstacles that you have to go through to get back to that game. The Niners don't look like they're anywhere close to getting back to that game. I'm going to wrap it up there, but I will say this. The 49ers do not have any NFC wins this season. None. They've beaten the Jets and the Patriots. And from what I see from the Jets and the Patriots, that ain't saying much. That's just my 2 cents. But what the hell do I know?
Well, in conclusion, then, in a perfect segue, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do the San Francisco 49ers get their first NFC win this Thursday night against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle?
Man, I think they probably will, only because I believe they'll both be 3-3 when it's all said and done. That's the only thing I'm going for. That's the only thing. I don't know if they can beat the Seattle Seahawks, though. No. I don't think their defense can stop them. I think Geno can throw 300 easy. DK Metcalf can have a good day as well. It's just about the running, how good will the Niners run the football. Newsflash, too, while we're talking about CMC coming back. The 49ers have not played bad in the running game without Christian McCaffrey.
Jordan Mason's been fine. My fantasy team will attest to that.
He's not giving Jordan Mason the ball enough. He's trying to show you that Brock Purdy deserves $60 million. And while he's showing you that, they're losing football games. Meaningful football games. They may not seem meaningful now, but they will when we get around December. That's all I got to say about that. I think that's what he's doing. And again, he's playing good football, lights out, but they're throwing way too much. And my issue with that is that nobody's getting open. So why are you still got him in the pocket trying to throw the football? Jordan Mason is like leading the league or like number 2 in the league with yards per game or plays with 10 plus, 20 plus yards per play, things like that.
Again, I think he was second in the league in rushing going into this week.
Okay. And if they ran the ball more, he could be number 1 right now. He's holding them back a little bit. 14 carries for 89 yards. Why couldn't he got 20 carries? He would have crossed the century mark. Why is Purdy throwing the ball so much? And they were playing with a lead up until the 4th quarter. So I'm just saying, Shanahan, once again, doing things that nobody can understand. But yet still, give him another 5-year extension, Jed York. Why not? The Niners are still relevant and, well, we don't want to go back to that Chip Kelly year. We don't want to go back to that.
Nobody wants to go back to the Chip Kelly years. Trust me on that one.
I know. So
if we don't ever agree on anything else, for as long as I know you, Jarvis, we will always agree on that. Fuck Chip Kelly.
We will. And this is the reason why Shanahan won't get that pink slip anytime soon. Because Jed York just doesn't want to go back to those days again. And he thinks that'll probably happen if he lets him out the door. A lot of wins racked up, but not a lot to show for it. That's all I can say. This is what you get when you pay all your superstars. This is what you get. A 2-3 record, and no Super Bowl rings. This is what you get when you pay everybody. That's why you can't always pay every single body. That's all I've got, though, guys, for the Great Debate Show. We've got basketball talk that we need to get into later on this week. Karl-Anthony Towns played a preseason game with the Knicks, and he was aggressive for the little time that he was out there. Didn't look bad at all. Basketball is upon us. It has come. Regular season starts later this month. Who's to talk about? I want to talk about the 76ers. I want to talk about the Knicks. I want to talk about the Eastern Conference, period. Milwaukee Bucks. Who's going to give the Celtics a run here? It'll be interesting. The Eastern Conference is, I would say, pretty stacked now from 1 through 4 or 5 maybe now. That's pretty good. We'll see. We'll talk more NBA. The NFL Thursday night, 49ers and Seahawks. They'll start off week 6. We'll see how that goes. I guess the Niners will win. Both teams will be 3-3. But, yeah, I definitely can see the Niners going in and losing. I can. But if the Niners just stick to running the football more, like Shanahan normally does, they'll be fine. Why is he not doing that now? Is it because Purdy, people are saying Purdy shouldn't get $60 million? Is he really focused that hard on that instead of winning? I don't know. Tennis, you got anything else to say, man, about anything before we wrap this up?
Hey, that's it on my end.
Shout out to ESPN going back, which I think I kind of predicted when and hired Shams Charania to replace Woj. When Woj left, I found that funny. I kind of called it. I felt like, but yes, there you go. They announced that today that he's gone back to ESPN.
Who?
Shams Charania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he's
Gotcha.
Middle Eastern guy. He had started his own deal and he was doing stuff with Yahoo and everything else. And
Shams, yeah.
is it Shams or Sean? I thought I said it was Sean. I thought it was what I heard.
I've been calling the man Shams for
Okay, gotcha.
years. But yeah, good pickup
We'll
for
get him
them,
on
man.
one day. We'll
He's
figure it
pretty
out.
good. Yeah, right.
So coming back to 6 in the NFL, the Titans will come back from their bye week. The Philadelphia Eagles will come back from their bye week. The Chargers will return from their bye
Coming back
week.
healthy.
And I don't think Lions play either this week. So those must have been the 4 teams that will return from their bye weeks in week 6. It looks like the Chiefs have a bye week next week.
Chiefs have a bye next week. The Lions return to play the Cowboys.
Lions and Cowboys coming up in week 6. Wouldn't you know this? It doesn't get any better for the 49ers. The Chiefs are going on a bye week. They've got 2 weeks to prepare for guess who their next opponent is going to be when they come back from the 49ers.
Oh, they're going to stomp a mud hole in y'all.
Man, it ain't looking good. That's all I can say. It's not looking good. The 49ers have never beaten Patrick Mahomes. Never. This is going back to 2018. They lost. 2019 Super Bowl. They lost. They played them in 2022 regular season. They lost. Played them in the Super Bowl just now in 2023. At the end of that year, they lost. When are you going to beat this guy? Well, they got to deal with the Seahawks first before they can even think about the Chiefs. Week 6 coming up next. We're done with week 5. It's in the books of the NFL 2024. We got NBA action. I'm going to come back later this week. I need to talk about that quarterback market and Alabama and who are the top teams right now in college, in your opinion? Who's going to, who's for real and who's not? Who's the pretenders and the contenders? With so many upsets going on now, we don't know who's who right now in college football. So we need to gather around and talk about that as well. That's it. Some people are saying that the defense has wasted Joe Burrow's best games and best moments of this season because he's been good. 30 of 39, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns. Damn.
My fantasy team thanks him also. Yeah, my money league fantasy team thanks him for sure. Him and T. Higgins.
Man. That's not bad at all. But still with a loss, that is poor Bengals. But me and Nick did say that they wouldn't be that good this year when we predicted the AFC North. We did. We got the Steelers at 4, the Bengals at 3. And the Ravens, I think we had them at 1. And I guess, who would be the other team again?
Browns.
The Browns. We thought more of the Browns, but hey.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
Wrong. I told everybody the NFC North was the best team. The best division in football. Look at the Lions. Look at the Vikings, undefeated. The Pack is back. kind of. And man, at the bottom is who?
The Bears.
The Chicago Bears. And like they're growing.
They're
still having
they're
growing.
2-3 or 3-2.
NFC North is the best division right now so far in football, and I thought it would be. It was between the NFC or AFC North. I'm gonna give it to the NFC because the Steelers are starting to look like who we thought they were, and the Cleveland Browns, man, I ain't even got no comments. We need to come back and do another segment about the Cleveland Browns, and I don't mean just Deshaun Watson. We've got other things to say about the people around him. It looks like people have given up on Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, and damn it, the owner doesn't want to give up on that $200-something million contract, though, bro. So he's like, I don't care. Make it work. Stefanski doesn't want to make it work, and he's trying to get that man killed. If you watch, it looks like a sabotage going on in Cleveland. Yes, Watson is bad, but so is everybody around him. Can Nick Chubb save them when he comes back? Is it even worth coming back, bro? Like, maybe you should just chill. I don't know. We'll talk about that too a little later. We're done, though, for right now. Our time is up. Thank you for listening to The Great Debate Show. It's been another good one. Again, just hit the follow button. Rate, review, and follow The Great Debate Show. Watch for us on YouTube. We've got great videos and reels out on there and also on the Great Debate Show page. That's on Facebook. Follow us and get to know us. It's the good guys. We up out of here. Y'all be safe, y'all. Peace.